Today I'm making a video to where I'm going to be demonstrating what I consider to be the perfect rep. And when I say perfect rep, I'm saying what I would think would be the perfect rep for building muscle. Probably not the perfect rep for lifting the most weight or looking the most impressive in the gym, but from what I've seen, I can build as much or more muscle doing it this way with less weight and definitely less pain in my elbows than I could lifting, a lot more weight and, kind of with reckless form that simply allowed me to lift a lot more weight. So, what I would say the perfect rep would contain 3 parts to it. And the first part would be that it would have no momentum, which I believe momentum is great for lifting more weight. It's used in powerlifting a lot, technique and momentum. But I don't believe it. I believe it takes away from contracting a muscle as hard as possible, which is very important for building muscle. It's essentially what you're doing is contracting it as much as possible. The second thing is it would have a controlled negative where more muscle is built during the negative portion than it is in the positive portion anyways. So it would have a controlled negative taking at full advantage of the negative portion of a rep. And third, it would have constant tension. And constant tension is another thing that's been shown, to build more muscle. If you'll watch a majority of, your huge pro bodybuilders like Ronnie Coleman or Branch Warren, especially doing squats, they'll be doing these little short half reps on squat, not going completely to the top. And what they're doing is keeping constant tension on that muscle, which if you do try this technique, you'll be frustrated in the fact that you can't lift nearly as much weight doing it this way. I think the first time I did it, I was benching like, which still ain't a lot of weight compared to most. I was benching like 295 6 times, and but my elbows and shoulders were hurting so bad that I was about to have to just stop. There was both was stinging really bad during my workouts. So I thought, well, I'm going to try a really good form on this exercise. No bouncing the weight. Stop at the bottom so I'm not like sending my tendons in opposite directions real quick, and hopefully this will alleviate some of the pain that I'm feeling. And I did this. The first time I did it, I had to keep going down and down and down and weight, because I think the first time I tried it, I done like 265, and I could only do it one time doing it this way. And I believe I had to go all the way down to like 235 to be able to complete 4 reps doing, slow negative. I say a 3-second negative, at least a second pause at the bottom, just touching my chest, pause at the bottom. And then when I come to the top portion of the rep, I didn't lock out and rest like you see, a lot of people do. And I almost locked out and then immediately went back into a 3-second negative, pause at the bottom, forceful positive, and then back into the negative. But, and this did stop almost all the pain, lifting that light amount of weight. It didn't hurt, but I thought, how am I going to build anything not lifting no more weight than that? But what I found out, I was still, even though that was a lot lighter weight, my muscles were contracting a lot harder than they was with the heavier weight, because I had taken away momentum. You know, they was under constant tension now, so they never got a rest period during the whole set. And, you know, and the set was longer because of, you know, the negative that it was, that I was using the full 3 extra seconds of negative instead of, say, 1. So what happened was I started a whole nother growth spurt. You know, I was from, you know, I done 235 the first week, and I think I done like 240 or 245 the next. And I just kept going up until before long I was now lifting, you know, 285, 295 with a full 3 second negative, pause at the bottom, you know, no lockout, and had, you know, had noticeably got, gained some size without causing any elbow pain. So I thought, why not try this on everything? You know, so the next was squats. I started doing my squats this way, and I think I had to drop my squats like 100 pounds to what I could lift, you know, going all the way down, you know, kind of bouncing at the bottom and coming up, and then maybe standing for a second or two and taking a breath. You know, as soon as I come to the top, I'd immediately go back into a 3 or sometimes 4 second negative on squat, because the range of motion is so far. I want to keep more or less that same speed going down. And but, you know, and then the same thing happened, another growth spurt with my legs. So I put this same technique into everything now, all my workouts. And it's different for everything. As far as, you know, say calves, just simply because of body mechanics. You do a calf raise, well, you don't have to worry about going immediately into a descent. You can do, I like to hold a contraction at the top, you know, slow descent, slow negative, and let it stretch at the bottom, you know, and then come to the top, you know, the positive, real forceful, and stay contraction at the top. And doing that, the calf is still under constant tension the whole time. And, you know, it's getting a slow negative, and it's not allowed to build momentum. You know, there's no momentum in doing it that way. So you might have to do, you know, tweak it a little bit. You know, back is totally different because, you know, at the bottom of pull downs, you can still keep constant tension, so you might want to hold it at the bottom. But just think of ways that you can do that with all your exercises. You know, keep constant tension, no momentum, and controlled negative. And so I want to demonstrate what I'm talking about on the bench press here. I got my Smith machine here in my home gym downstairs. That's where I do probably 90% of my workouts now. But I want to first show what you're typically see in the gym, and then I want to show the way I do it now, you know, and you know what I believe is a better way for bodybuilding. So here's what I mostly see, and I'll see a quick drop, bounce, fighting, and then they'll set and they'll catch a breather, lock out, and so this takes some tension off of the muscles right here. And then right here, I'm not worrying about a negative momentum. Yeah, I'm using my chest as like a springboard when you do that. And though that's tempting, you know, because you can lift more weight that way, you know, and the body wants to do whatever it can do to lift more weight, because it doesn't know that, you know, the difference between this that you're working out, or for all it knows, it's a rock falling on it, and you got to get it off of you. So it wants to do whatever it takes to lift the weight most efficient, but most efficient is not always most efficient lifting the weight is not always most efficient for bodybuilding. So I'll show you the way I do it now. What I consider a lot better rep. What I do, you know, I unrack the weight and I go into a full 1, 2, 3 pause at the bottom, not resting it on my chest, not, you know, sitting here taking a breather, and then a forceful contraction, and then immediately pause, immediately slow, negative, pause, just like that. And you know, you'll not, like I say, you'll not be able to lift as much weight, and but that's okay, cause if you're building more muscle, what does it matter? You know, other than you know, you just got to not worry about, you know, what other people think, as far as, you know, maybe they think, well, he's not as strong as I thought he was. Well, that's just part of letting your ego go and keeping your mind on the task at hand. You know, what you're set out to do. You know, are you in there to build more muscle, or, you know, sculpt a body that you want, to lose more body fat, or are you in there to make people think a certain way about you? So if you can just let that go, you know, and just treat it as noise, then you'll be okay. And I just say, the last thing, give this a try, as far as give it at least 4 or 6 weeks. You know, that'll be a fair amount of time to know whether it's going to work for you or not. And which, you know, if you consistently do this for 4 to 6 weeks, I'm pretty sure that you'll see a big difference in, you know, joint pain, and overall how, maybe a difference in adding another growth spurt, to where you may have been stale for a while. But just give it a fair try, 4 to 6 weeks, and see what happens. If it, you know, if it's not what you want, then you can always go back to the way you was. So that's it for this one.